And welcome to Fat Cat Productions News with a View, episode 20, January 27th, 2025. So we get the dates all right, and we get to see the room. It's a nice rainy day here in South Carolina. Got rid of all the snow that was around, and the streets are clearing up, and things are almost back to normal until the next cold weather comes. Um, Today's rundown sheet of what we're going to discuss in the order, so you good folks know what I'm projecting from my brain cells to you. Uh, Vice President Vance's interview on Face the Nation, as we used to call it, Face the Folks, at CBS. Um, that was a pretty intense interview. The second thing we're going to do is talk about Trump freezes of prior agreed congressional approved funding, which is interesting because I have my own spin on that. Then, of course, we can't not talk about the 14th Amendment and how 22 states have filed with the courts against Trump's birthright order. So we said we knew that that was going to go all the way up the ladder to the robes. And then the fourth thing we're going to talk about a bit is probably the confirmation hearings and nonsense stuff. And then I'll think of something else to talk about because I love hearing myself speak. You should know that by now. All right. That piece of paper is now on the floor. And we go to the vice president. They called it an interview. I called it a grilling. Could also call it a debate with CBS anchor Margaret Brennan on unvetted illegal immigrants and refugees. And this was, of course, during Face the Nation interview on Sunday. Of course, Brennan starts it off nicely. Brennan asks Vance for his thoughts on the President Donald Trump through an executive order putting a pause on resettlement operations, refugee resettlement operations, while demanding enhanced vetting for visa applications. And, Vance shot back that my primary concern as vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And she jumped right in and said, no, so no, right? And Vance just continued. That's what lawyers do. They'll just talk over you until the judge says, stop. And now we know we're having vetting problems. With a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country. It's not good, Vance continued. So when the government brings in refugees into the country, they're being removed from their country, and a lot of times it's not voluntary. You could stay here and die, or you can come this way. So they're not given much of a choice. And they come here, but a lot of these are then considered refugees, and they're not vetted in the same process as would be if you came in and asked for not citizenship, but into entry. So this is a little bit different. And Brennan insisted, held it, these people are vetted. They're looked at. And Vance then, that opened the door, a lawyer. A recent example of an Afghan national in Oklahoma who was accused of planning a terrorist attack in October. And he came to this country in 2021. after the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan and went through multiple vetting processes. And Vance continued on to say, I don't want my children living in a world like that. That they got to be worried about, people from, just showing up and possibly doing us harm. And I'm not going to force other Americans to have to worry about that. And again, Brennan then stated no, and that was a very particular case, she said. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here. But Vance interrupted Brennan, and he just really said, I really don't care. Margaret, was his reply. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me on that. So Vance was defending, of course, the executive order, you know, saying that, no, we're pausing that. And, well, that was more of a directive, I think, but we're pausing it until, we can take a look at what this vetting process really is. It could be just, where did you live? What did you do? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, next, and not really a look through. And I think what Trump wants is, a review process that, okay, you come in, we go so far, and then you have to be registered here, and we got to know where you are, and you have to stay in contact. It's like seeing a parole officer. And then we get to check up on what you're doing here. Okay, you're saying you're working over here, or you're with this relief organization or whatever. What are you doing with your free time? And tell us what you do during the day. And and they get to ask a lot of questions in those type of situations. So questions that normally a person might say, "Hey, I don't have to answer those questions." Well, these people do. So. And then Vice President Vance also defended Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants. And of course, Brandon, this is a country founded by immigrants. Yeah, documented immigrants after a certain point in time. I mean, before that, there was no, immigration policies. I'm sure the Indians, the Native Americans, wish they had an immigration policy. They did. They just started, attacking them, but they had no policy to stop them. So that's what happens when you don't have an immigration policy. Look at the Indians. Vance went on, this is a unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. Well, it was founded by all those people. I mean, the country we know today, it was always here. So it wasn't really founded or discovered. It was always here. It wasn't like it just popped out of the ocean. And he said, just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later we have the dumbest immigration policy of any country in the world. Which, I don't know. Look at Europe and I have to question that too. But no country says that temporary visitors, their children will be given complete access to the benefits and blessings of America. They come here. And this was a big problem with Chinese coming in, and Taiwanese too. But Taiwan is a province of China, so the Chinese, just between you and me. They have their children here. They come in 9 months pregnant, have their children here, go back, but their children now are American citizens because they were birthed here. And I'm going to tell you right now, that ain't what the 14th Amendment was about. And my comment on this whole little interview was being vetted is not and should not be a one and done deal with vetting of anyone coming in this country. if you're going to be here, further reviews and oversight must be developed that can look at a certain group of immigrants from known hostile nations who ask to remain in the USA. So I understand the plight you're under, and that's why you're here. But we got some questions for you and some rules that go with those. If you go into the next step onto the next sidewalk, there's going to be some more rules that you're going to have to do. And this isn't anti-immigration. This is self-preservation. And until an improved process is implemented, a pause of this process is not unreasonable. Now, I would say that I would like to see a time on this. A week or two. You had a long time to think about this. So you have to have a plan. And you must have had something that, hey, yeah, that sounds good to me. We'll go with that. We'll see how that floats. And if that doesn't float, you better have a B and a C plan ready to go. So I'd like to see that. Just like, well, we're starting from zero. We're just going to stop this. I don't know if that's really cool to do, but we can certainly understand that in this world that we live in. And of course, that's my phone. I was expecting that call much earlier today, and I knew my buddy Dean from Florida was going to give me a call. He's probably having computer problems. The next thing on my list is, of course, Trump's move to freeze. I say Biden-approved funding draws howls from the Democrats. And this is really congressional approved and some executive orders by Biden. And this is all through the Inflation Reduction Act, bipartisan infrastructure law. So, again, this is why I hate executive orders. Kind of jump over Congress. That's not really the democratic process. So I'm not a fan when I see all these executive orders. And the Democrats, of course, they state that Trump's orders appear to violate a law called the Impound Control Act, the ICA, which lays out limits of how much power a president has to restructure funding approved by Congress. And they're right, there is language. And, you just can't go in there and go, Senator Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, a top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, and that's probably won't last too much longer, bashed the measure this week as illegal. They legally impounding critical investments while adding uncertainty to every company, nonprofit organization, state, local government that has a stake in either of these laws. Yeah, well, the money's going to dry up. Sure, they're all worried about it. Red states too. All right, we weren't getting $250 million like New York, but, we were getting $30 million. And I kind of figured we were going to get that, and now, I don't know. And, of course, Republicans dismissing these attacks by the Democrats, defending Trump's move as within his power as president, while also noting plans to yank banks back some of this funding was going to be done anyway. Well, all right, but he beat you to the punch. Now, if you did it through Congress and then overrode yourself, I'd probably be a little bit more happier about it. And, John Hoover of Hoover a Republican from North Dakota, said, well, clearly we're going to try to claw back some of this spending and get some of these funds back. We made that very clear. That's something we look at doing in budget reconciliation. Well, this stuff was passed by Congress. And yes, they could have been, loaded with Democrats and got some Republicans on board and stuff. But yeah, it was passed by Congress. So again, I don't like when the president can do this. Any of the presidents, red, blue, green, I don't care. We got to have a limit on this. This is where I said a limit on presidential authority. You're not taking it away from him. You're just going to say, in your term, your 4-year term, you could sign 10 of these things. And that's it. That's all you get. 10, 5, whatever you want to limit it to. But you just can't walk in and sign, there's 103, 104, 105. Now, in those 5 or 10, yeah, you got the power. You be the man or the woman, but you're limited in how many times you can do. I want you to imagine that this is rubbing a magic lantern and you get 3 wishes. But you only get 3, and you can't wish for any more. And once you make a wish, you can't take it back. So you're rubbing this magic lantern. You're going to get, a genie comes out and gives you 3 wishes. Or in the president's case, 10 wishes. Not talking about pardons. I'm talking about what he can sign and go over Congress. So, and, they said they're very clear in taking some of this money back. And they said the president has some discretion on this. He can do certain things, but he can't, just blanketly cut everything. And of course, part of the issue is it's not clear exactly what is included in Trump's order. The laws fund a wide variety of matters, including tax credits for low carbon energy projects, consumer rebates for technology to make homes more climate friendly, grant aid at cutting pollution. So you can see where this is going. This is all climate. And the White House issued a memo Wednesday saying the pause applies to funds supporting programs, projects, or activities that may be implicated by the policies established in certain sections of the executive order. Sounds like, yeah, we can do it, but we don't know what we're doing yet. But if it's allowed over here, then it's allowed over there, and then we can go over there. So. And in the section, among other things, of course, is the policy to eliminate the electric vehicle mandate by ensuring a level of regulatory playing field for consumers' choice of vehicles. And yeah, I said that if you're going to say I must buy an electric vehicle, then what? Yes, the more that are made and everything, the price will come down. I mean, you don't have to buy a Tesla. You could buy a Volt if you want to buy a Chevy Volt or something like that. But the price range, the price range was way up there, and for the average person, they might not be able to do that. And plus, I live in an apartment. I have to park out on the street. There's no charger there. So now I got to go find a charger. And then everyone in that apartment has to find a charger. And not every parking lot has the infrastructure, and the ones that do, well, you got to pay, just like you would at the gas pump, but even more. Because there are peak charging times. How much do you need? If you only need 30% and you're topping it off, that might be at a different rate than, hey, I'm reading you and you're down 90, down, less than 10%. Cha-ching, 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 and you go into a higher rate and whatever. It could be like the electric companies are doing, charging you on demand. Oh, it's the summertime. You're traveling. Ooh, gotta pay. So I didn't like this whole mandate of forcing you to do something. And here they were leading the horse to water, taking its head, pushing it in the water, and say, drink, drink, you have no choice, drink. So, yeah, I don't like that. And for the most part, the idea is wonderful. It took us 70 years to build a gasoline infrastructure. It will at least take us 25 years to build an electrical infrastructure. But in the meantime, I got to find a place to plug my car into. Yes, and of course, they're saying it's a freedom of choice. It's not freedom of choice, it's money, folks. They could give a rat's patootie about our freedom of choices. About money. Earl. It's all about oil, if you haven't guessed that by now. So, they're saying no one understands, Republicans and Democrats, yet where this is affecting. Well, what is this going after? And, a Democrat, Sheldon Whitehouse, from Rhode Island, tiny little state, but still has 2 senators. There was initial clarification that didn't provide much clarification. So it's like having a policy. Our policy is not to have a policy, so I hope you understand our policy. But this is mostly, you see, nevertheless, some climate advocates still express concern that this is going against their agenda. Yeah. I'm going to say even Helen Keller could see that. And they say, we made tons of progress in the last 4 years. When you say tons of progress, you're talking about how much weight you got, right? And he goes, this could set us back, said Patrick Drupp, the director of climate policy at the Sierra Club. Yeah, what's California doing? So, of course, this is going to be us against them and them against us. So now it's Republicans have more than the Democrats. So, they're just going to roll over them. And this is why Trump is doing all this now. Because do I ride the wave? Or do I sit back and miss out on it? And now I'm one of the, I didn't get a harumph from that guy. That guy didn't give me a harumph. So, this is politics. Trump got real good at it. And he's going, I got the momentum. I'm going to push it all now. And we'll see what happens down the road. And, of course, one of the people that I said was going to have a hard time, and I got my little list there of the people that were going to have a hard time being Senate. And guess what? Russell Voigt. It's on my list. And he is Trump's former budget chief. And now is up for that once more. And this is a no-nonsense guy. And I said, Democrats should fear him, and the Republicans have to be a little wary of him because everyone likes to have that money going out and going to their constituents and going, look what I got you. Got a big bag of money here for you. And you know how I got it? Me. I went in there. I fought for you and you and you. And now they might go, hey, yeah, don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? So, and Chucky Schumer out of New York, and this guy's been real low. You haven't heard much from Chucky Boy. Yeah. Where was he when he was calling for violence? Right? Different tune now. You're under the microscope, but I think Trump likes you. And you guys have like a mutual respect for one another. More so than he had for Nadler, and Nadler, the rep out of Brooklyn, and coming from New York and working in New York and being in a union in New York. Nothing in Brooklyn happened without Mr. Nadler. How you doing over there? Oh, nice to see you. All right, I'll be seeing you. So, and he said, Vought could decide what funds that we allocated could go forward, raising concerns around the dangers of the impoundment. And, of course, the Senate Democrats targeting Voight's nomination, which one senator described him as the most dangerous nominee put forward by Trump, and that's what I said. This guy worries Democrats and Republicans. And he is a person to be dealt with. So he's been grilled by the Senate and by Democrats for previous actions that he took under the Trump administration to free security assistance for Ukraine, particularly as the president draws heat from the party over a recent move targeting foreign assistance. Now he's going to target foreign, why is Cuba going to get money? Sure, there's something in there for them, or Haiti, or Iran. So yeah, that's going to be looked at. And about time people said, okay, enough. We're spending money like a drunken sailor. And during his testimony before the senators this week, Lord defended Trump's effort to freeze the funding, saying it was meant to do a programmatic delay. So a step by step delay. And he has reiterated that the ICA, that whole act, is unconstitutional. We will faithfully uphold the law. The president ran on the notion that the Impoundment Control Act is unconstitutional. And I agree with that. But we're still going to, the hardline conservatives have also taken up this issue in recent months, wrapping up the calls for the measure's repeal. And, they're saying, hey, until it's repealed, we're going to follow the law because it helps us. But, Trump is going to go after everything. everything the Democrats have pushed that are silly and really wasteful, and probably a lot of things that Republicans went after too. They're going to take a look and they go, "Yeah, you had your fingers in there too." And there's other Republicans have stopped short of co-signing the whole idea, and I think there has limitation. I think there would be a disagreement, probably between the executive and Congress, as far as what you can and can't do with it. This was Hooven again, out of North Dakota. As whether he thought the ICA was unconstitutional, Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, who I stated in my other conversations I would hate to be in front of, even being innocent of anything and being the most open person in the world. Everyone has a closet, has a door on it for a reason. This guy seems to get into a lot of closets. And he said, one can argue the constitutionality or the unconstitutionality of it. So there's arguments to go on either side. And, will this go to the robes? Well, it sounds like it might. And, but you just can't say. And the president just can't hold up spending that has been obligated. It's very case specific. Now, if you remember, we'll go back to Trump holding back the funding for the Ukraine because Vice President Biden said, "You get rid of that attorney general over there who's going after my son and his company. And, it's a witch hunt. Or I don't give you your money either." And it went back, and it was Zelensky who said, "Hey, this was approved by your president." Because right now you're dealing with me. And I speak for the president. And that whole thing just went away. They yanked the guy. All right, we need the money. And what did he get? What did one of the Bidens get? What, $50 million? Oh. And then when Trump said, "I'm going to hold back this stuff from you," they go, this has been approved. We're going to impeach you. You're stopping it. You are stopping Congress. You're breaking the law. And we can impeach you. Remember that? Think Trump's worried about that here? Not since the ICA Act. You want to remove that. It's a funny, it works for who's ever sitting there. So, and it's, they said it could be looked at both ways. However, in this case, some experts are crying foul. So they're saying that that there's certain avenues. I'm sorry. This is a cough that just comes up. And I did bring my water over here. And remember, in 2018, Trump tried to do some of the legal path. Rescind some of these unobligated balances. But legally pause new obligations from happening. They're saying that, it's illegal. Withholding Ukraine was the legal path then in 2014. then and then in 2025. He's once again doing an illegal path. And they're talking also about government approved contracts with entities inside the United States for, certain things. Now, so you can know, the federal government can break any contract they want for either default or convenience. Look it up. Google, can the federal government cancel a contract? See what it says. So, can the government override any contract? Yeah, they can. And I know that from personal experience. Now, let's get to my favorite hot topic: birthright citizenship and the 14th Amendment. And I remember in one of my first podcasts, I said, and you can't see it here because of the glare, but this book, The Original Meaning of the 14th Amendment, and I'll put that up in fonts right up over here. It's Letters and the Spirit, and the original meaning of the 14th Amendment. That's important. It's a very, very important fact. And this was written by Randy Barnett and Evan T. Bernick. It is 420 pages of action-packed. You read this, and you don't need to take any sleeping pills or anything. And it's in the smallest print possible. So there's lots of, this could have easily been a 600-page book, but then, you'd be carrying like a family Bible with you. But in it, it explains in letters and in conversations in letters that the founders of the 14th Amendment and the writers and the supporters and even the people that didn't support the 14th Amendment all wrote to one another saying, what do you think? And the language is so tight in it that every word has a meaning. And the one president in our lifetime that proved that and should be, brought to light was Bill Clinton. What does if mean? What does is mean? What does it mean? Because in the context, it became legally binding. So it might mean something over here, but it written on that amendment meant something totally different. So, wording. And Hans von Spakovsky with the Heritage Foundation. Now, of course, this is a really right-wing leaning organization. I mean, it's not like me. I can look at both sides and go, yeah, I could see the point there, and I could see the point over here, and, squeeze it around a little bit. But in the end, it's the words. And what was the intent of the words? And he says that the 14th Amendment, as the meaning of what President Trump is saying, the court should be upheld by the courts. And we need to enforce the 14th Amendment as it was originally intended. And he said, "Oh, there's no doubt there's going to be lawsuits flying all over the place, and 22 from states is, you know, going to be interesting because if they ever really, 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 really wanted to amend and change this, you're going to have 2/3 of the states in agreement, and I don't think you're going to find 2/3 of the states in agreement. Not when they have to put their signatures on it." And it will get to the Supreme Court, the judge, the rules, the robes will all. This is a biggie. And it really shouldn't be a biggie. It's pretty actually simple. But here, my spin on it. Here's my 2 cents, folks. The big question is if the robes stay on the original intention of the 14th and not use the fact that other amendments have been interpreted using facts not available during the writing of said amendment. So what has to happen is the judges first of all have to say that's what that meaning was then. Like Jack Smith said about insurrection, that was written 100 years ago. I can't make it fit today. I can't make it fit. So he didn't go there because it would be a constitutional showdown, and he knew he'd lose. So this is the same thing that I'm saying is that if they go, yeah, that was then and this is now, and the Constitution is a living, breathing document, which it is not. It's written in stone. That's why we have mechanisms in place to address that. Go through the process, then you could say what you want to say. But let's say the robes agree and go, no, Trump is right. When does that take effect? That day? Does it go all the way back to Dred Scott? Does it go all the way back to, I think 1898, a Chinese suit that was won? Where do you put a date on it? Where do you say that it's now illegal, or now this is the ruling? Do you set a retroactive? Do you say, well, whatever? Because there's a lot of people that have been here for 70 years, had children born, that weren't citizens. So now what are you going to go to those 58-year-old people today and go, you and your kids and your grandkids or your great-grand, they all got to leave? Where does it end? Where does it begin? And so I think that this opens up a much broader can of worms. And how do you, I don't know. How does the government know who was a citizen in 1930? Who was a citizen in 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90? You weren't allowed to put that on a census, I think, at the time. I'm not sure, because I know that was the big to-do. We wanted a citizen, non-citizen. No, you can't do that. Can't do that. Because now you would have a number. Now you'd know. And so how do you know? How do you know who's a citizen? If you say, I have to prove my lineage back, How do I do that? Oh, I was born in the United States. There's no doubt about it. Here's my birth certificate. And they look and they go, all right, your mom and dad, they were born in the United States. All right. Let's go back. Your grandparents. In my case, they were citizens, documented, and they took an oath. So, and I will say this, because there's fact, and you can't dispute facts, folks. Like it, hate it, disagree with it, but a fact is a fact. And if you go back, I hate to say it, to the German Purity Acts of going back into lineage, does it not have a familiar ring, a tone, a smell, a taste? Remember I said it doesn't smell right or taste right? I'm going to say something about it. Well, that's what I'm saying about this. That you could say that those are illegals. Now show me all of them. And they go, well, we can go and we know. Yeah, no, you don't. Where does it stop? How far are you going to go back? It is very, very dangerous. And I think the judges probably could very quickly come to a conclusion that if you're here illegally, and we know you're here illegally, we can go after you. We can go through the process of getting you out. But what do you do with someone that's been here 50 years? You're going to go up to some grandmother somewhere and go, you got to prove it? Well, I had kids, grandkids. I got great-grandchildren here. They're here. What? You. We're asking you. I don't know if that's a place we should go to. Now, we can start and go, as of this ruling, yes. But we're having, 500,000 babies born here a year by, not technically, not theoretically, but actual non-citizens, undocumented non-citizens. If you're documented, you automatically get every right that we have. Your children, and you are protected under that. So when I talk about sovereignty and jurisdiction, that's what I'm talking about. But if you are not documented, then you're not entitled to those rights. If you're here as a visitor, on vacation, a tourist, you don't have that right. Now, under a J1, if you're working here, you might have those rights. I don't know. I would say that if you're here working, yeah, you're going to be protected under all those rights because you have to. You're working. You get that. But tell me when this takes effect. And tell me why. Tell me how you got there. You threw a dart. You look at, when a first case, when this was first mentioned, when this was brought up. Where do you start? Where is the beginning date on this? That's very, very dangerous. And you could put a date like as of this ruling. But then how do people prove that they weren't behind there? If they see, that's the problem with being undocumented. We don't know. So if we don't know, we can assume. We can go back, we can find information. Hey, you've been here for 10 years. Maybe someone that was here for 50 years, they could see school records of their children and their children's children and whatever. All right, fill out this documentation thing, and we'll get you processed through. At least you'll be documented. How do you handle? What is the mechanism for the next step? Just get them all on buses and get them out? Now, I can understand if they say, all right, the children have birthrights. The parents don't. Parents got to go. We're not separating the children. You can take them with you, or you can give them into custody of people that you trust, sign these papers, and or you can take them, or you can abandon them and put them into foster care. But you're going. And you can do that. I don't know if that's a place we should go. I could see after a certain date stopping that and going, hey, you knew the deal. You knew what we were doing, and you came over illegally anyway. You played the game, you lost. Off you go. Then I could see, because you knew. I'm fine with that. But this thing can go back and back and back and back. And where do you say is enough? So I got a problem with that. I feel that Trump is standing on pretty thick ice on what he's saying. But the ramifications of it just go so deep, and have people. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. All right, your wish is granted. Now what do? How far? Okay, your grandma goes. The mother, her children. What happens if the husband is a citizen? Or the wife is a citizen? What's the process then? So I see a lot of pitfalls in this, and I think it's birthright citizenship and the value of American citizenship. I can understand what people are complaining about, but we gotta show me the end game here. Show me what you're going to do after this. I know I'm just going on, and I'm on a tangent, but it's so serious. And the president isn't rewriting the Constitution. Not a word or a letter. Not a comma, not a period, not a quotation mark has been changed by Trump with the Constitution. It has not happened, folks. I can hear, he's gonna rip the pages out of the Constitution. He doesn't have to do that. He can just ask for a ruling or an opinion on what these words mean in this context. And no Republican, no Democrat really wanted to go there. And I said, Trump is a different animal. So, and he said, and there's people, and there's a lot of people that say the 14th Amendment was never meant to include children of individuals in the country legally or temporarily, and that this broad interpretation led to widespread birth tourism and abuse. And like I said, and I said this way from the beginning, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. When you come into this country and you're documented, you sign a paper, what's your intention? Intention is to immigrate here. and thus by immigrating somewhere deep in that line, is that you now, your country, you renounce your country of origin. So there is no, they can't come and go, hey, that's our guy, you got to return him. Nope, nope, can't have him. No, because you renounce your citizenship and they no longer have a claim on you in our country. That's the rules. So, and this was why it was necessary for immigrants' loyalties to be with the U.S. and not another country. So that you couldn't have a conflict. And you have to be subject to the jurisdiction. The jurisdiction. And, you know, they go, we've done a lot of research on it. I've done a lot of research on it, too. Doesn't mean I know it. But I have read the original meaning of the 14th Amendment, its letters and spirit by Randy Barnett and Evan D. Bernick. And you, again, you can now base your conclusion on facts and then draw a factual opinion. And it is very, very important to look at. Because you could be right, but the consequences of you being right and you prying open that door, it could be devastating. And you could hurt people you never even thought that you could hurt. And this is why they say this is, you know, we're going to go to war against it. We're going to fight it. Because it could be a ruling with no boundaries. What are the boundaries on it? So we have to look at that. And then if it's not, if it isn't, if they go, hey, you know, you just asked us what these words meant, and we told you what these words meant. Yeah, they don't have citizenship. That's all you asked us to do. Now what? Now can the president go back and go, well, this is going to be everybody, you know? Or is he going to say, no, this is only people from, I don't know, 1950. And that becomes arbitrary. How'd you get to 1950? Why not 1940? Guardrails. I want guardrails. I want lanes. I want lines. I want to see where this is going. And I want to know. I want to know what it is before we jump into it. So, all right, let's end that. That's enough about that. I can go on for days on that subject. I'm going to talk a little bit about the confirmation hearings and the ones today. Scott Bassett for Treasury Secretary. He'll be approved. Big hedge fund guy. Investor. Yale graduate. Certainly has the understanding and background that would fit into what Trump is trying to initiate. So, for the Trump administration, he's a really good fit. You know, who knows? I never saw how Pete Buttigieg fit into the Department of Transportation. He was a mayor. And then today, I think, Sean Duffy, who will have no problem, Department of Transportation. This guy's you remember Sean Duffy, Fox and Friends. But he's also was a politician, a prosecutor, lobbyist, and Fox News host. Oh, when he was Wisconsin Republican representative. Uh, I gotta write this stuff down. 2011 through 2019, and then he resigned to become a lobbyist. It must be pretty bad when you're a Republican in Congress and you decide to become a lobbyist. It's got to be a lot of money out there for you to do that. Um, and I forget what he hosted on Fox. It was some nonsense show. And honestly, folks, I don't watch Fox. I occasionally watch CNN. I never watch MSNBC. I read a lot of their stories, but their news coverage is so far that I'd be throwing stuff. CNN I can tolerate. I can tolerate. Fox, I could lead myself to the trough. I could lead myself to the water. I could decide whether or not to drink or not, or go to another pond. So I don't need to be led around that much. Thank you, but I don't need that. So, yeah, where did he go to school? He went to one of these, like, St. Mary's School, and then got his Juris Doctorate. A lawyer. He's a mouthpiece. Some little known Mitchell College or something, if I remember. William Mitchell. Doesn't matter. He's, but he'll get that job. Basically, they all will, and I'll give you my list of the people that I think will, and Voight. Voight is he's on the top of my list. Kennedy's going to go through his thing, and Chris Wright, the Department of Energy, he's going to get some grilling, and Department of Education, Linda McMahon, she's going to. There's going to be some questionings there. Yeah, smart lady. There's nothing wrong with her. They're going to grill her. So with her, let's get ready to rumble. And most of these other people on this list, are going to have no problem. It's going to be an easy thing. Scott Bissett is Treasury Secretary, like I said, and Sean Duffy will Department of Transportation. So I don't see that. Bundy is, and Pete and stuff there. That's all settled. This will be an easy run for them. They're in. So with that, I'm going to end this one. This will probably be up later today. We'll see what time later today. Yesterday was a real tough day. I go through all the editing and everything, and then I upload the raw, unedited, which I don't edit. The only thing I do is I put, some fonts up and some things, and I'm trying to keep that down to a minimum. And so that took me like an hour to render it up there, and then took me 20 minutes to deselect it, and then another hour, and to send the right one up. And I think it finally went up like at 11 p.m. instead of 8. But I want this one up before 6 o'clock today, because I'm going out to my favorite place in the world tonight, Socrates Station. Nice little bar and grill, Socrates, South Carolina. About a 10-mile drive from my house in Murrells Inlet. And so no drinking and driving for me. So when I go like that, I have a sody while my wife has her Jack Daniels on the rocks. We have some nice little appetizers there, and if we haven't had dinner, we'll have dinner there, and we have a good time with the people there. And the one rule is, at the bar, no politics. It happens every once in a while, and we'll laugh and joke and then go, we can't talk about it. They really get mad there if you talk about politics. And it is a redneck bar. But it's a good redneck bar. Everyone's welcome, no matter what. Everyone is welcome. And we go, oh, this night is that night, and that night is this night. And, it's always fun there. And it's a great cross mingling of peoples and careers, and it's amazing the people you meet there. So we have a lot of fun. That's Socrates, South Carolina, Socrates Station. If you're local, you should go there. Don't overdo it there because it's only holds about 150 people. And if I can't get my seat on the bar, I'm going to blame you. All right, so with that, say a prayer for the victims of the hurricanes and the fires. It's still going on. They're still suffering. And, like I said, they'll suffer even more when they start dealing with their insurance companies. Maybe not so much with FEMA, but, government programs take a long time, to get working and retooled and fixed. But if you're going to donate money, which I suggest you do, or I encourage you to, if you can, remember, charity begins at home, and I understand that. So, if you choose to give money, registered charity, Red Cross. I'm like a fan of Samaritan. But just don't become a victim helping a victim. Charities that reach out for you, you reach out to a known charity. It could be, any of them out there. But not any of them out there. Be careful of the ones, Salvation Army, Red Cross, Samaritan. Your church group will tell you who they use or whatever faith that you go to. But give what you can. All right, with that, I'm out of here. I'm going to have to edit this on the quick. And with that, God bless. I'll catch you tomorrow as I fade to black.